Young woman at the back.
Well, to be honest, I can't believe we're still having this debate. At this point in time, I think the only things left in Europe should be Liverpool and Tottenham. And I think, Anna, if you would like another referendum, why can't we use the EU elections as another referendum? And when the Brexit Party do well, which I hope they do, and that's coming from a Conservative Party member. I've been a member of the Conservative Party since I was 16. I'm now 19. I've canvassed for them, but the party has let us down. And I will be voting for the Brexit Party during the European elections. And that seems to me a democratic way of having a second referendum, which would be undemocratic.
Will Theresa May get a deal through? That was Julie's question.
Yeah, it was. Well, we've just heard from our political class in Westminster. We have a genuine...
Well, you're the political class too.
We have a genuine democratic crisis in this country, and the reason's simple. We voted to leave by quite a big majority in a referendum. We then voted a year later in a general election for two political parties who told us they would respect our wishes and carry out Brexit. We then saw 500 MPs vote for Article 50, which said we leave on the 29th of March with or without a withdrawal agreement. And the reason we didn't leave on March the 29th is these people do not want us to become an independent, self-governing nation. They are doing their utmost to thwart Brexit. And now it gets worse, because now, to try and save their own skins, we've got a Labour and Conservative Party negotiating a permanent customs union and alignment with single market rules. They're basically trying to make us associate members of the European Union with no say, with no rights, with continued ongoing cost, in many ways even worse than staying a member of the European Union. This is a coalition of Parliament against the people, and I pray that it does not go through, because it won't be Brexit. On that question of a WTO Brexit, that's something the European Parliament itself prepared for back in 2017 and published a report and explained exactly how the border would work. The issue is tariffs, all right? But
no, it's not.
Given that now there isn't some little man checking every lorry that goes across borders or container that comes into Felixstowe every day from China. This is all done online. That's very easy. The second question might be that of regulatory alignment. Would product specs be different? We've been in the European Union for 45 years. To begin with, there'd be no issue with that whatsoever. And isn't it funny how a WTO Brexit, the Taoiseach in Dublin has said there'd be no border put up. Monsieur Barnier has said there'd be no border put up.
Can I just
the British government have said that no border would get put up.
No, wait a minute.
Unless Donald Trump's coming over to build a wall,
The former head of the World Trade Organisation. So you'd think he'd know what he's talking about, Pascal Lamy, when he was talking with a Conservative...
Former European Commissioner.
And former European Commissioner.
Funny that, yeah.
Well... Right, so he was the head of the WTO, and he thought this idea of this kind of solution you're suggesting, Northern Ireland, was for the birds.
Is Pascal Lamy suggesting a hard border?
He's suggesting that any other solution is not going to work.
Nobody is suggesting a hard border, and that's the point.
These are the lies and the spin.
Oh, right, here we go.
Because Nigel Farage was criticising the return of our customs union and regulatory alignment. In 2015, he was arguing for exactly the same thing, saying that we could leave the European Union just like Norway had done, which is still a member of the single market.
Norway never joined. What are you talking about?
Because in 2015...
What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about, the lies that you told...
I said no deal is better than a bad deal, Anna. I argued it all through the referendum, day after day after day. You clearly weren't listening. You never do you?
Can I just say... Wait a minute.
Should Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn be worried about the Brexit Party?
Well...
Well, lots of you are shouting yes. A lot of you aren't shouting anything. So I'm not sure what to make of that. I guess you think yes, Nigel.
Well, the previous question actually links in neatly, doesn't it? Should Theresa May be replaced? And I wanted to answer that one by saying, as leader of the Brexit Party, I want Mrs May to stay in office for as long as possible, because she's doing a fantastic job recruiting for us. Look, I think the truth of it is, the Brexit Party has appeared. It shouldn't have had to even be formed, because we should have left on the 29th of March. They were the promises made to us. The withdrawal agreement was dreadful, so we should have left on WTO terms and made our own way in the world and got on with the rest of our lives. We didn't, and I think, frankly...
So how worried should the other parties be? That's the question.
Well, clearly the Conservative Party are in crisis, and there are many... I mean, there was a lady at the back earlier on who said she was a Conservative Party member and she's going to vote for the Brexit Party. Sorry to say, when you get home, you might have received a phone call from the Tory Party. You might not be a member anymore, but never mind.
Nigel, what's your prediction for the EU elections? What's your target? What are you aiming for?
Oh, well, I'm trying to win, obviously.
No, but how many seats are you going for?
I've no idea. But I think that... Do I think the Brexit Party can win these European elections? Yes. Can it win big? Possibly. Possibly, yes. And I think the Tories are worried because their biggest supporters, their biggest donors are saying, what is this party for? But Labour's the fascination. You've heard it again tonight. The Labour position, basically, they want associate membership, half in, half out. But here's the problem that Labour have got. If you look at South Wales, look at the Midlands, look at the north of England, you see that nearly every single seat that had Labour hold was a Leave seat. There are 5 million people who voted Brexit and then voted for Jeremy Corbyn. And whatever clever game of ambiguity Team Corbyn tried to play, the truth of it is the Labour Party is now a Remain party. Just look at their candidates in these European elections. They nearly all support a second referendum and Remain. And I think, actually, given the direction of the Labour Party, they too, now because they're betraying Brexit, cannot form a majority in this country. And the real answer is, what we now need is the two-party system to start to break up. They're serving nothing but themselves. We need a radical change in British politics, and I hope the Brexit Party can start that process. I really do.
And the majority of the House of Commons have concluded that no deal would be
What about the country, Amber? What about... How do we deliver a democratic result? That's the point. It's perfectly clear. Every major player on both the Remain and Leave side, including you, said if we vote to leave, we are leaving the single market and leaving the customs union. Now, given that Mrs May's appalling deal...
No, it's not an appalling deal.
It's the worst deal in history, in my view, but anyway, there we are.
No, it's not.
Given that it's been... The only way now... I would much rather... We'd had a better negotiation, but we haven't. Given where we are, to deliver the democratic result, the only way out of this is a WTO Brexit, and then we become an independent country, and the Brexit referendum has been delivered.
No, but
there's no other way of delivering
Nigel,
it.
you are not the only person who can opine on what is Brexit and what is not Brexit.
Well, it's not customs union, is it?
You're elected to the European Union.
Is customs union membership Brexit?
The Brexit Party is about one thing, just as UKIP Party was about one thing. And it is disappointing... Well, no, but
democracy.
They have one thing.
Democracy. What's wrong with that?
To every complex question, there is a simple, straightforward and wrong answer.
What, democracy is wrong, is it?
And you can rely... It is a complex...
Is it wrong? No, it's not complex.
Nigel, do not pretend...
Deliver on the referendum, Amber. Stop lying to people. Stop conning people. We want to leave. That's what we voted for.
This is exactly the sort of language that is designed to deceive people. You pretend these things are simple, Nigel, but you know they're not.
Let's just leave. That's easy, isn't it?
The reason why we are troubling over it, to find the right outcome...
You don't believe in it,
is
do you?
because we believe we have to make sure that we look after the jobs and the economy.
Well, look, the question is...
I'm afraid it just doesn't add up, because the people who will suffer the most from that no-deal Brexit are people on the lowest income, some of the most vulnerable people, and that is why any Labour leader, including Jeremy, because of what we know what has already happened in terms of the effect on the currency, the effect of prices rising, those are real factors.
OK, let's see. And, of course, West City is calling for a second referendum, I should say.
Leave. Your MPs are not representing their constituents. They're letting down their people even more than Tories.
Trying to implement a deal that you promised and isn't available, and your mistake has led to this problem. If you had been proved right, we'd already have left.
My mistake was to believe that we should be an independent, self-governing nation. That's what Brexit... That's what we voted for. It's what we want.
None of the things you promised have come true. None of them.
Yeah, Anna Soubry talks about campaigning a lot for a second referendum. I'm just wondering why the Change UK MPs are not standing by elections in their constituency. Surely the circumstances have changed there.
If I can answer that. Am I able to answer that question?
I was going to come on to that later, but since we're on it, why aren't you fielding a candidate in the Peterborough by-election?
My values and my principles and what I believe in has not changed at all. And let me just finish. Yeah. So sorry. Let me just explain. I have to tell you that my constituents, 3 to 1, in their communications and emails to me, have supported what I've done because they know that Britain's politics are broken.
No, but that's not the question, is it? The question is why aren't you fielding a candidate in the Peterborough by-election?
He didn't ask that question. Sorry, he asked me why I wasn't going to stand as a by-election.
I'm sorry, forgive me. Sorry, I'll just ask your question again. I misunderstood it.
Yeah, so basically I asked whether Change UK MPs should now sit in by-elections because surely the circumstances have changed for their constituents. You know, Anna Soubry stood on a manifesto of the Conservative Party that said they'd delivered a referendum result. You're not doing that. You've changed to a different party. Now you want a second referendum. You should sit by elections because the circumstances have changed for your constituents.
That's not what my constituents are telling me, and my principles and my values have not changed. I tell you what my people in my constituency want. They want a people's vote. They are entitled to a final say, and they are entitled to change their minds. And young people are entitled to say as well.
Let's get back to the question.
I think all this talk about Brexit is absolutely meaningless. Until the general...
Well, we're talking about would changing the Prime Minister break the deadlock?
You were talking about Brexit as part of that. And until the general public takes control of central banking, the public are fodder. Mr Farage knows this, but he's done nothing about central banking. We will always be that. It doesn't matter if we're in it or out of the Union.